that we got over the last 2 days. Yeah, they're trying to move it, and I was down there just the other day, so I got some questions that we'll be asking Ben Dow, Public Works Director here of the city of Fargo, because they've got that announcement, that request for today through tomorrow morning, so we'll tell you about that. Also, speaking of city employees, the $1 million that was given out for the bonuses, been a lot of chatter about that since the last time we've been able to visit with you, so we'll break that down. Michelle Fishbach's out there trying to sling some merchandise. We'll talk about her not being serious at all. Also, Harry Reid passed away, and in addition to that, you had the loss of John Madden. So we're going to be talking about all of that. Jack Michaels, the voice of sports, is going to be joining us, and we're going to wrap up, get you ready for New Year's Eve, because there's a midnight brunch. Dan Herder with the Boiler Room and so many other projects going to be joining us as well. Your time on the phone lines all day. The Laney studio line is 237-5948, and you can text in all day at 35270. More Afternoons Live right after this KFGO News.
KFGO News, mostly cloudy and 8 below zero. I'm Paul Juergens. Our wind chill warning has been replaced now with a wind chill advisory that in effect until noon tomorrow. Snow removal begins overnight in downtown Fargo, forcing residents and others to move their vehicles or face the prospect of getting towed. The work begins at 2 a.m. Cars found in no parking zones on streets will be impounded. Streets between 2nd and 7th Avenues North from 2nd Street to University are affected. Parking on avenues will be allowed. Residents are urged to take advantage of city parking ramps and parking lots during the process. The Itasca County Sheriff's Office in northern Minnesota has reported the death of one of its deputies. 41-year-old Deputy Jamie Williams died of COVID-19 complications after surgery. Williams became infected December 11th, was hospitalized in Deer River, and eventually taken to ICU in Virginia. He was known as Rooster, and Itasca County Deputy 722. Williams leaves behind a wife and 3 children. A disaster for essential workers on the front lines. That from Minnesota Nurses Association President Mary Turner about new CDC COVID guidelines.
Turner criticizes the CDC's decision to shorten recommended quarantine from 10 days down to 5 and not require a negative COVID test to end isolation. And she says healthcare workers exposed to COVID-19 are no longer required to quarantine if they're vaccinated and boosted. She says it may be good for businesses' bottom lines, but will put nurses,
Essential
other workers, and the
front
public at greater risk. CDC officials say there's growing evidence that people with COVID are most infectious in the first few days, and they want to, quote, safely keep society functioning while following the science. Bill Werner reporting.
It was a long couple of days for a semi-driver who left State Highway 13 and went into the ditch near Fingal, North Dakota. He left the road early last Sunday morning and stayed in his truck until yesterday. Barnes County Chief Deputy Pat Sand says deputies checked on the trucker, told them that he was okay and he would prefer to stay put. A tow truck brought him fuel to keep the truck running. Sand says there was a language barrier, but the company he worked for assured sheriff's dispatchers that he was safe. The truck and trailer were eventually pulled from the ditch yesterday. KFGO Weather Center forecast. Again, a wind chill advisory now in effect until noon tomorrow, issued by the National Weather Service. Meteorologist Tom Szymanski is expecting a mostly cloudy afternoon. We may see a flurry or two, some light snow, 6 below for the high. Mostly cloudy overnight, 14 below. Tomorrow, 0, mostly cloudy. Light snow possible tomorrow morning. For New Year's Eve day, 7 below, mostly cloudy. 11 below, partly to mostly sunny New Year's Day. And about 6 above, mostly sunny Sunday. 8 below, mostly cloudy. Paul Juergens, News Radio KFGO.
You know, it wasn't long ago that this song would remind me of one thing or another, but now, ever since the Marvel universe has been out, like, it's Iron Man now, right? This is this, you go to Iron Man when the song plays.
Yeah.
It changes. How a song can bring you back to a moment in film history, put you right there. One of them.
Yeah, I think the fancy term for that is a needle drop, when you'd use the perfect song in the perfect spot.
That's it. There's a term for that?
Yeah,
It's called needle drop.
A needle drop.
That feels like you made that up, but I'll allow it because I don't.
I got that one
dislike it
from
at all.
filmmaker Edgar Wright on a podcast. He was talking about how he uses music in film.
Music and film, vastly important. You think about songs that have made movies. I mean, give me some Huey Lewis, you think of Back to the Future. There are what else? What is it out there? 35270. When you hear a song that brings you to a movie, I can think about soundtracks. That all encompasses. We've had that debate before.
Feed My Frankenstein by Alice Cooper.
Yeah, okay.
Wayne's World Amino.
Sure, I'll allow that.
Or Bohemian Rhapsody.
Both. Both right answers. Not a wrong one there. I'm trying to think of what else. You can help me out. 35270. I want to thank Derek Hansen for filling in for me as I filled in for Joe Heidkamp the last couple of
musical
days.
chairs.
We
in the
made our
KFGO
work
building.
here on KFGO's airwaves between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., but I'm glad to be back with you in the afternoons here. A couple of things we're going to get to here. John Madden passing away just yesterday, 85 years old. Jack Michaels, the voice of sports, and, of course, longtime broadcaster. John Madden, I mean, you think about the success. He had 3 successful, untouched as far as success goes, careers all around the NFL. I mean, you've got the coach, you've got the broadcaster, and then you've got the gaming side of this as well, all with his name on, which I don't know if it is, and I don't have the hard figures in front of me, but Madden, the games that started in 1988 to, still ongoing to 2021 here. It's got to be the most, or one of the top 10 most successful gaming franchises ever. His name's bearing that. So we're going to talk with Jack Michaels about that. And you know what? I'm looking at the calendar, and we're starting to make those New Year's Eve's plans. Myself, I'm kind of a New Year's Day celebrator. Well, I'll have that debate, which is better, which you prefer in a little bit. But I do know that midnight, there's going to be a brunch, something I thought was very unique. Dan Herder, he is part of that Boiler Room team. Well, he is the guy down there, but also he's involved in so many other things that we've been happy to be able to bring to you. But he's going to tell you about that opportunity going on New Year's Eve downtown. In fact, it's about this midnight brunch. We've got that in a little bit here, though. The last couple of days, why we've been playing musical chairs, because of the weather. Sorry, I got distracted because people are sitting into 35270. Songs that bring them back to a specific moment in film history, and Fast Times comes in. Sure, there's probably people thinking about Varsity Blues as well, but that's neither here nor there. You can keep sending them in. We'll have fun with that this afternoon. But the weather over the last couple of days. First off, let me say, give me the snow. Give me the immeasurable amounts of snow that we had on Sunday into Monday over what we are facing today, tomorrow, through Saturday. I will take the snow over the cold. I'm just a wimp when it comes to the cold. In fact, it's, 8 below right now. I think we're going to get a high of 6 below that New Year's Day celebrating that I intend to do. We're going to have a high of 12 below. Yeah, I give me 12 inches of snow over the 12 below. That's just me. I don't know where you rest. But the removal process is not an easy one. And it's one that's very challenging in a metro area. That, quite frankly, is growing as far as square footage goes. The roads, we're not building up. We're growing up here in the metro. And some of the congestion, though, is noticeable. That's why the city of Fargo earlier today did release a request. And request might not be the right word, because the request, if you don't follow through, there might be some punishments as far as your vehicle and where it might be removed downtown. We're going to talk with Ben Dow of the City Works right after this quick commercial break. Afternoons Live on a Wednesday. We're just getting started. I'm Tyler Axis. Stick around.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Why do I like ice fishing so much? I don't know, to me it's just something I enjoy and just a hobby that I've been into for quite a few years, and I'm not necessarily good at it, but I enjoy it. It's fun. It's good time to get out and hang out with all your buddies and just get away from reality for a little while. First time that I ever went ice fishing, I was I was like 6 or 7, and I actually fell through the ice. We were in a portable ice house, and I was standing in there, and my dad and my uncle Kevin were moving it, and when they pushed it, I wasn't ready for it, and my leg went down the hole. That was fun. It was cold. You can get into hunting and fishing and stuff like that relatively cheap, and it's just like buying a vehicle. You can spend thousands and thousands of dollars, or you can just go to Walmart and get enough stuff and go out and do it.
Here's what I want from you today as listeners. Send in a song that reminds you of a specific part of a movie. So send it in to 35270. We'll see if we can guess what movie it's from. You send them in, we'll play them. We'll do that throughout the day or while we get you ready for that 5 o'clock punch out. And you know what? That punch out at 5 o'clock, and if you're downtown, it's a perfect time to get that vehicle off the streets because City of Fargo, they're trying to remove the snow, of which we got lots over the last couple of days. Here to tell you about all of that and so much more. Ben Dow, part of the Public Works here in the great city of Fargo. Ben, how are you doing, man?
Well, not too bad. It finally stopped snowing and the wind ain't blowing.
Yeah, now we just have that bitter, bitter cold. But there's nothing we can do. We can move snow. We cannot move the cold, and that's what I wanted to have you on for because we got lots of snow over the last couple of days, and the congested parts of town, which there's a lot of traffic and maybe some narrower streets. We need the public's help. Explain what you're asking residents and visitors to do in downtown Fargo.
So, starting tonight, we're going to move in and start doing our hauling operations on the streets in the downtown business district. And with that, we need everybody to get those cars removed off the street. If they choose not to do that, we will be impounding them. That's the big thing. We have 22 extra dump trucks from contractors coming in, plus we're going to run a bunch of ours. So we'll have at least 30 dump trucks down there. And we're going to run 2 full crews down there. And we want to try and get all the streets done down there tonight with the New Year's holiday coming in on Friday evening. We want to have it safe and a lot of parking down there.
Well, and that's, I didn't even consider the fact. I was just talking about it being New Year's Eve, but I didn't think about the ramifications if that snow is not removed in a spot like downtown where people are going to be hanging out and having a good time. Great reminder. So if you're even wanting to go down and have that freedom to park where you normally would downtown, call your friends, call your family that might work down there, might be down just visiting. Tell them, look, we need this done. So you're hauling snow, which there's a lot to be hauled. Where do we dump? Is this where that whole Mount Fargo comes that I've heard in? Where do we dump this snow from downtown?
Yeah, so Mount Fargo begins tonight, and that is out there west of our landfill, just south of 12th Avenue North, just located out there. And so tonight will be the inaugural dumping in there. We've been dumping in a couple other ones we have, but to follow up, if you are planning to go down this evening, park on our avenues, because tonight is a free avenue parking lot, or hit our parking ramps down there. They're free during the overnights, so that's a big one. And then again, tomorrow night we'll be doing all the avenues, so we're going to have everybody want to be off the avenues and parking on the streets from Thursday night to Friday morning.
Well, and those parking ramps have made a big difference, Ben. I went down yesterday and had a little bit of lunch downtown, and because of what we're talking about here is there's not a lot of place to push the snow, so to have the ridges there, it's like, what, I'm gonna find the parking ramp. I'm gonna park. Sure, I might have to walk another block. So be it. It's more, it's peace of mind because some of us have a rig that's back end might be out and that's obstructing traffic. And so you have those opportunities. And as you said, if you're going down tonight after 5 o'clock, guess what? It's all fine and dandy there. Yeah, my question that I had, though, Ben, when I was down there, and this is more of a sidewalk-related thing, there was, and I get that we had maybe a couple of inches of snow between the morning and when I got down there. Is that solely on the city to do that, or do we need to get the property owners out there to help remove that snow just when it comes to the sidewalk traffic?
So all the sidewalks, that's under ordinance. That's the adjacent business owner's responsibility to remove any of that snow. And they just push it to the curb line. And then when we go down and haul, we pull it off the top of the curb and get it all to center and haul it all away. So there isn't a lot of room for them right now. So they got to do the best they can. It's hard to believe that we've had 14.2 inches since Saturday. Because the 3 inches we had on Saturday and then the 3.9 yesterday added on. So there is a lot of snow there, and there's not a lot of room. So,
well, I can attest there are a lot of snow. I've used my snowblower more in this last 4 days than I did all of last winter combined. There's a lot of snow down there, and I don't mean to say, all right, businesses, get out there. You're not doing the work because, like you say, Ben, there's not a lot of places to put it.
No. When we get it this much that fast, it just gets really tight. Last year we only had 28.8 inches of snow all winter. We're at 28.1 right now. So we didn't get a lot of snow last winter, but we've gotten a lot in this last 4 days.
Let's take a step outside of downtown. We know that tonight, if you go and I say we know, now I have to look it up. They're removing on the street. So avenues, you can park there. Find a parking ramp. That's what I would encourage you. Find a parking ramp. And then, of course, tomorrow night, the reverse of that. But let's say, it's not just downtown. We have across the metro area here. And Fargo's growing quite a bit. And if I recall, it was just 2 years ago, maybe my timeline's off here, that there was an ordinance that came in that if there was and maybe it was just dictated on a snow emergency about removing your vehicles from streets if, in fact, we know we're going to have a major snow event. I don't think that we had that enacted, but has it been easy to get the routes taken care of, or are people still parking and congesting some of those side streets?
We're still seeing a lot of parking on the streets. I mean, you can drive a lot of places in town, and you can see where people still haven't moved their vehicles. They're going to have a tough go of getting them out now. But that's a problem we always face. Do we have the mayor call a snow emergency? Snow emergency goes in effect, and then that creates a whole other realm of issues. So, in this sense, this was a real tough one to call a snow emergency on. First, we didn't know how much snow we were going to get. They were forecasting some, but that can always go either way. So, and this was our first significant snowfall of the year, so we still have some room on the streets. They're not narrow. Things aren't congested and stuff like that. So we had some choices. Looking back, we maybe should have went down that road, but at that time, we thought, with Christmas travel, with people in town, you got relatives there, it's tough to force everybody off the street.
Well, that's very true. There was people that had vehicles probably over for the holidays, and like some of us, we had family and relatives over a day or two longer than what had been planned because of I hope they're not listening. I don't mean anything bad about that. Well, it was a pleasure to host, but to where you don't risk it, so you stay, and if you don't have the driveway space, guess what? The street's the next option you've got. So I would say if you're one of those that found yourself in that position, I think the city of Fargo may have just given you a favor. So be grateful for them for that. But now it's time to get them off the streets. Let's get those roads cleared up before the next system, which I don't know is going to be in the forecast for quite some time, but we'll find out from the best meteorologist in town, Too Tall. Ben, is there anything else you want to get out, the reminders or what else is going on in the city before I let you go?
No, we're still going to be pretty active out there during the daytime. We got a lot of crews. We're going to be widening the 45th Street, 52nd Avenue, doing some blowbacks. So that's the thing that we want our pedestrians and our travelers out there to watch for these folks and just slow down around them, give them some room. The equipment is big. It's not always that easy to see out of it. So if you can just be patient with us, we're going to work on this and get all the lanes back and get everything cleaned up. And hopefully the snow stays away for a couple of weeks so we can return to somewhat normal.
Yeah, patience, again, is something that I keep reminding myself to have more of, and some of our listeners as well, Ben. But, hey, I appreciate you taking time. Good luck getting all that snow removed downtown, and we'll chat again soon, all right?
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Yeah, you do the same. Ben Dow, he's with the Public Works Department right here in the city of Fargo. I mean, it was a holiday. There's more people. There's more traffic in town. But it's time. It's time to move them. I don't. There's nowhere to put it, especially in downtown. That's why we're focused on downtown, because businesses are just heard, all right, push it out pretty much to the curb. That makes it pretty difficult to park a vehicle and not have your butt end hanging out in the middle of the road. I know, because I saw a lot of it yesterday. There was a poor semi-driver, a truck driver that was trying to maneuver downtown right around noon. And you know that traffic picks up around that time because people are in and out, whether it's shopping, going, just on a lunch break. Boy, I felt bad for that driver. Just because trying to make that right turn while you've got these vehicles that aren't able to pull in as far as they want. I hope whoever was awaiting that delivery was able to get it at some point yesterday. But just be mindful of that. And that's why when we talk about parking in downtown over the last few years, we said, geez, it's just not a lot of it. Those parking ramps have resolved a lot of issues. And I get a small town kid like myself thinking parking ramp. Look, I went in, I pulled in, found my spot. A lot of other people utilizing it. By the time I left to put my the ticket back in, the window was so short because I wasn't gone that long. It was free. So there's really not an excuse. If it's cold, yes, I know sometimes you got to walk that extra block. The next couple of nights not going to be enjoyable. Bundle up, but it's going to make it easier for the men and women out there working for the city of Fargo, and quite frankly, those contractors. 30 dump trucks going to be partnering up to move and haul that snow out of downtown. Speaking of city employees, however, I haven't had a chance to visit with you yet about this. But on Monday, the city of Fargo, the commission approved rewarding 967 full-time and part-time city employees a $1,000 appreciation bonus. Your thoughts on that? I'd love to hear at 35270. You can call me on the Laney studio line at 237-5948. The vote not unanimous. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who the individual on the commission that was the no vote. Being Commissioner Tony Gehrig, he was the no vote on that, saying there could be more prudent use of this money. But let's talk about bonuses, especially when you're a public employee versus, say, a private employee. Because I heard about some of the bonuses going out over Christmas breaks and Christmas parties. Let's dissect that next, right here on KFGO.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out, as people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Why do I like ice fishing so much? I don't know, to me it's just something I enjoy and just a hobby that I've been into for quite a few years, and I'm not necessarily good at it, but I enjoy it. It's fun. It's good time to get out and hang out with all your buddies and just get away from reality for a little while. First time that I ever went ice fishing, I was like 6 or 7, and I actually fell through the ice. We were in a portable ice house, and I was standing in there, and my dad and my uncle Kevin were moving it, and when they pushed it, I wasn't ready for it, and my leg went down the hole. That was fun. It was cold. You can get into hunting and fishing and stuff like that.
The Becker County Sheriff's Office has identified the man killed in a house fire last week northeast of Detroit Lakes. He was 47-year-old Wesley Stahlboger. The fire broke out early last Wednesday morning. The roof had collapsed by the time deputies arrived. The state fire marshal's office is investigating. Fire crews have put out a fire at the Federal Reserve Building in Minneapolis. Firefighters arrived to find heavy smoke in a loading dock area near a metal roll-up door today. That door was frozen shut, and an employee had used a heating torch to break it free. The heat from the torch started a small fire in insulation. There was no significant damage. A Minneapolis garbage truck driver says he was emptying dumpsters when he heard a woman's voice. The woman was inside the hopper of his truck. The woman was apparently sleeping in the dumpster when she was dumped into the truck. Emergency responders were able to free her, and she was medically evaluated. She was taken to a hospital for treatment of a foot injury. Minnesota's minimum wage goes up the first of the year, 25 cents an hour to $10.33 at large employers, and 21 cents an hour to $8.42 at smaller employers. James Hodderman is with the Department of Labor and Industry.
In 2014, the Minnesota legislature passed a law to keep workers' minimum wage rates even with inflation. So the state's minimum wage rates are adjusted each year to keep up with inflation.
The state increase is 2.5%, the largest since 2018. Minnesota began indexing the minimum wage to inflation after several years of increases specified by the legislature. Vikings receiver Adam Thielen will miss the rest of the regular season after undergoing surgery on his ankle. The Vikings have placed Thielen on injured reserve. He returned Sunday after missing 2 games because of a left ankle sprain, but he re-injured his ankle in the loss to the Rams. For the season, Thielen had 67 receptions and 726 yards and a team-leading 10 touchdowns in 13 games. Minnesota travels to Green Bay Sunday night before closing the regular season at home against the Bears. Wind chill advisory has replaced the wind chill warning. It'll be in effect until noon tomorrow. KFGO meteorologist Tom Szymanski is looking for mostly cloudy conditions this afternoon. We might see a flurry or two, some light snow, 6 below. 14 below overnight, mostly cloudy. Another mostly cloudy day tomorrow with a chance of light snow in the morning and 0. New Year's Eve day, mostly cloudy, 7 below. New Year's Day, mostly sunny, and the high near 11 below 0. 7 below now. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
Rusty, however, said, I think it's been like 6 days since we've been physically in the same studio.
Yeah.
Because we chatted a little bit Monday morning.
Well, yeah, that was.
We were on different
I was
parts of
working
the county.
remotely that day.
As was I. Good to see you. I hope the Christmas break was well.
Yes, it was great. Thank you. Yeah,
Very
it was
good.
great.
Glad to have you back in the studio.
Yeah.
Just because you weren't here doesn't mean you weren't working. You were working remotely.
True that.
We got that end of year thought process going on. Planning for next year.
Yep.
Resolutions, but also when it comes to what are we going to put in the ground? How much is it going to cost? Am I going to be able to get what I need?
Bingo.
What's the latest on all that?
Yeah, as we approach that 2022 growing season, Tyler, memories of supply chain challenges still fresh on the minds of many producers and retailers, too. Gail Stratman, a regional technical service manager for FMC Agricultural Solutions, says producers should talk early with their retailer.
Have that conversation with your retailer, let him know what your crop intentions are, maybe, and so you can put together that crop protection plan so that he can get those products on hand or find out if he's going to be able to get those or not get those going forward. Because the days of being able to just walk into the retailership and have them have a supply of just about anything you need is going to be a little bit challenging. And we may not see that for a while again, but so for 2022, the biggest thing is plan ahead and plan accordingly.
When I talked with Gail, he said that FMC and probably other retailers too, trying to be more proactive rather than reactive. And that's why these early conversations can really help everybody out when it comes to making sure you get what you need when you need it.
Get the order placed.
Yep.
And get that invoice ready to go. Yeah, and it's not just this industry. It feels like it's still across the board. The want of the instant gratification of, all right, I know I need this. I'm going to go get it right now. It's not working that way.
Yeah.
I mean, even furniture buying, for example.
Yeah. PlayStations.
Everything.
Yeah.
PlayStations, huh?
Weren't those in short supply?
Those probably were. I was an Xbox guy myself.
Yeah.
Nintendo before. I never had the PlayStations. You grew up in I don't.
Atari.
Atari. Was it Atari?
Yeah,
we're going to be talking about some gaming a little bit later on with John Madden.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to throw this out there with Jack Michaels, but there's only been, as far as I remember, one Minnesota Viking that's been on the cover of Madden. You think about that. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
I've got the wheels turning.
And the wheels turning.
Was it a running back?
I'm not giving any clues right now.
Okay.
I'm just saying there's only been one so far.
Okay. I've got a couple in mind.
Okay. Well, you come back next hour. We'll chat about that, all right?
And also, let's talk about food prices next hour.
Actual agriculture.
Yes.
How dare I forget. Rusty Alverson is part of the Farm and Ranching, multi-award winning. You can't wait till next hour. You can go to kfgo.com. Just click on that agriculture tab. Him and Sarah Heinrich, that's where you'll find their work. CBS National News on the way. Let's talk about the bonus when it comes to the City of Fargo employees. Your thoughts on that? I already got some messages in. We'll chat about that next.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. The hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. Yeah. That's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Why do I like ice fishing so much? I don't know, to me it's just something I enjoy, and
Your kids are gonna love it. 241 KFGO time. You're sending them in to 35270. We stumbled. I mean, quite seriously, just live radio for you. And when you have a song that is a perfect fit for a part of a movie, it brings you back. This one, of course, Back to the Future. This one got me thinking, though. Eye of the Tiger comes in. Yes, but if I recall, Eye of the Tiger was just the intro to Rocky. But it wasn't part of the montage, was it? They always had different songs for the montages of when Rocky was getting ready.
Yeah.
I think this kicked off was a Rocky 3.
Boy, you're testing my trivial knowledge.
I don't remember. I'm genuinely asking. At what Rocky, what number of Rocky was Eye of the Tiger the intro? Because I think they come the slow zoom in to the title belt, don't they? Maybe I'm completely misremembering Rocky. So I'm going to say, yes, you're right. This is more of that theme song that came in, introduced the movie. They wrote this for Rocky, right? Like, this wasn't a song they just plucked out.
Yeah.
I've got lots of questions. I've got zero
all
answers.
Kinds.
I've become more of a morning person comparatively over the last 2 days.
It feels like it is exclusively a Rocky song.
I'm pretty sure Eye of the Tiger was Rocky 3. Thank you. Rocky 3 comes in overwhelming. I was right. I'm 1 for 3. Now, if you could answer, riddle me this. Well, I can't remember the name of this band. Who is it?
Survivor.
Thank you. Yeah, Survivor. Did Survivor write Eye of the Tiger specifically for Rocky? Ponder that while we listen just a little bit to Survivor. All right, some more of those songs coming in. We'll play them, and we'll try to guess exactly what movie they are from at 35270. I want to dive into this, so I haven't had a chance to visit with the Afternoons live audience a couple days. Again, thanks to Derek Hansen for filling in. And quite frankly, when I was filling in for News and Views, we didn't get a chance to dive in on what happened Monday, I do believe, when it comes to the city of Fargo rewarding 967 full and part-time city employees with a $1,000 bonus. And that money comes from the leftover portion of the CARES Act that was allocated in 2020. And I want to bring that up, the fact that it was 2020. And I don't remember exactly the way of which the CARES dollars was distributed, aside from it going to the state. And then you had the Emergency Commission at that time. The legislature didn't get involved as much with the CARES funding, if you remember. So we had the Emergency Commission in North Dakota. Other states handled it differently, but we're talking about the city of Fargo. That's housed in North Dakota. So you had the 6 members of that body, the governor, the Secretary of State, the House and Senate Majority Leader, I think the Attorney General, and someone else that I cannot remember if it was it the treasurer or the we'll find out for you. That's not actually important at all. But they distributed the money across the state in various ways, and some of that going to cities to spend as they would. And you have this amount, which is, it's not quite $1 million, $943,000, $1,000 one-time appreciation bonus going to city employees. And I gotta say, I'm kind of surprised at some of the reactions to this. I mean, for me, congratulations, you've earned it. And let's take the last 48 hours, for example. You've all expected to have your streets plowed. If it was garbage day, you all expected to have your garbage removed. You expected all those services from the city to go forward without any hitch in the giddy-up, and that's exactly what happened for the most part. So they have been working through every situation, this pandemic included, to go out there, do the job that you expect of them. They're public servants, they're public employees. And to take this money through the CARES Act, to have an appreciation saying, you know what, here's a thank you, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever it is. And the $1,000 to those employees, I say you've earned it. Thank you for doing the work that we expect, getting it done here. The fact that we have people seemingly upset about this or questioning it surprises me. People saying, well, how are you spending tax dollars? The fact that these are public employees makes it very difficult for them to receive bonuses. So why not utilize this one-time funding to do that as a one-time thank you? I see nothing wrong with this. They choose to go into public work, be public employees because, you know what, that they want to probably help out neighbors, and I applaud them for that. But that does constrain some of the things that they can receive versus what you get on the private side. Now, I'm not trying to pick a fight between public and private employees, but this is $1,000 going out to the city workers in the city of Fargo. That's $1,000, one time $1,000. I heard over the last 2 weeks people boasting, and good for them. I take no fault, or I don't begrudge anybody for working in an industry in which some of the bonuses that they got Christmas-wise from, say, that bank they work at, $5,000 bonus for full-time employee. Great. I'm happy you got it. But why then should we fault the public employees for getting $1,000 out of tax dollars? Because you can't exactly just do that on any other given time frame. So I think this was wise. I would have voted the same way. I would have said, sure, yes, thank you. Wrap that in a little bow. But why is it that when it comes to public employees, we always feel, or I would say some always feel that, well, come on now. This is my tax dollars. It baffles me. Help me understand it. 35270. Tyler, employees deserve the bonus, but the fact that it's part of Biden's money is wrong. How about giving a tax cut to the family that fund programs that are BS? Well, a couple of things. This isn't Biden's money. One, it's our money as tax dollars, but the CARES Act was passed and signed while Donald Trump was still president. The American Rescue Plan, that was under the Biden administration. That was early. So the CARES dollars utilized for this, that was when Donald Trump was still president. This was early on in the pandemic. I'm a little, how about giving a tax cut to the family that fund programs? So I'm trying to ask, are you saying, well, the employees shouldn't get anything, but everyone should get a tax cut? Because that's what I'm reading it as. And if I'm wrong, by all means, you know how to correct me. Tyler, good for the city of Fargo employees. Did all city employees get the bonus, or who was left out? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the payroll for the entire city of Fargo when it comes to their employees. But KFGO and our very own Don Haney was the one that was reporting on this at 967 full and part-time city employees. I would assume, since we're including part-time, that this does include all. Now, that's an assumption, and we know the whole saying about, if you make an assumption, what that means. But if I'm wrong, you can text me as well. If you're a city employee saying, look, I'm not eligible, I don't get this, I think there are ways of which in the city pay scale or in the municipal arena that, from what I've gathered, there are times that if you've been in, I'll just pick one, because we have all this snow. If you're out there, you're a blade operator. That if you've been there, you've been there long enough to where, all right, you've kind of capped out in what you're making. So you don't necessarily get a raise at 2%, 3%, whatever has been allotted. So with that in mind as well, I see just no fault in this. And I was very surprised that some people took issue with it. A message comes in saying all got it. So yeah, I've got to assume that does mean I have no reason to doubt this texter that is anonymous to me, because I only got a number here, that the 967 does include all of them. I know the city commission, they don't get it. I think John Strand wanted to make that abundantly clear, and I say John Strand because he's the one I do believe that introduced this. So city commissioners did not get that, but other employees did. I just think with everything else, why we point out the public side and say, well, because it's tax dollars, we don't know, we feel uncomfortable. Let's just be honest here. That CARES dollars, what was included in some of that, did go out to other businesses that then in turn gave bonuses. Banks included. And I'm not trying to give banks a black eye by any means, but I know that banks got fees for, say, doling out the Paycheck Protection Program. And if, in fact, then if they collected those fees through the CARES dollars and turned around and gave a bonus to their employees, do you have any issue with that? Because it's all coming from the same intended pot of money that was through the CARES Act. And that, to me, seems like the biggest sticking point for some people. You can let me know. I'll come back to you. I see the phone lines are lining up, 237-5948. That is the Laney studio line. And you can also call in about whatever you want. We got to this KFGO weather update from Too Tall Tom Schmansky. We'll wrap up the first hour next.
Currently 7 degrees below zero at the KFGO studios. More Afternoons Live with Tyler Access coming up right after this.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two. Doug here with the morning crew this morning. Paul Jerkins News Radio.
Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too Tall Tom
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Access, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they...
That's Otis, and Otis loves us. 35270.
I figured this one would be up on your list, the ones
and
that you like.
Everybody, because of that scene in Animal House, danced the way of which I never broke it down in the high school dances. You know how they break it down and do whatever. And you all probably been to a toga party before. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But this song brings it back to that moment. Does it not? We're talking about the $1 million, and it's not quite $1 million, but it's close to. We'll round up. Of CARES dollars going to bonuses for city employees. I'm all for it. I say good. They've earned it. You know, I think they've proven that over the last few days, right? Still got the streets clean, still got your garbage taken out if it was your garbage day. Tyler, the city of Fargo has to do something. They're losing employees at an alarming rate. With that goes a lot of experience. They've been very stingy on their cost of living adjustment, and the county I think it says court, but I'm guessing there's a typo here. And the Commissioner Strand, it would not look good if we gave COLAs a year ago. I'm a city employee who often wonders why to stick around when I have had to work. Boy, it's easy for me to read today, isn't it? When I had to work during COVID nights, weekends, and holidays, and even have people spit in my face and cough me. Well, I am sorry to hear certainly the last part of that. You know, I'm not sure if this is the pandemic, if it's what has changed to where something has certainly brought out the worst in us, some of us. It's brought it out in a way of some people don't even try to hide some of their behavior anymore. Behavior you don't expect out of a 5-year-old, you're seeing out of 55-year-olds. So if, in fact, the whole spitting in the face, coughing at you happened, I'll apologize right here because that is ridiculous. But as far as having to work the weekends, the holidays, the nights, that's why I've got no issue. You earned it. You kept things moving on in the city when we just seem to kind of expect it. And I don't think we take a moment to understand people are out there busting tail to make sure it works the way we want it to. Tyler, keep in mind city employees did not get a cost of living raise last year and a few years before that. Also understand that they are underpaid in many areas compared to private sector. All right points. And there's nothing there I can argue with. So again, keeping that in mind, I still don't understand how some people took issue with this. Now, I saw some people that don't even call Fargo home complaining about this. At what point, what does that even impact you? It's my question. But I'm glad you got it. If you're a city employee listening to me right now, you're out there moving snow, you're doing waste management, thank you. And that's not just for Fargo. Yes, I'm isolating you because you got the bonus for any other city employee listening across the upper Midwest. Thank you for the work you've been doing and continue to do. Hour number 2 of Afternoons Live next.
Steve Halverson here with another Untitled News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen, Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two. Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning. Paul Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Why do I like ice fishing so much? I don't know, to me it's just something I enjoy, and
KFGO time 3:05. Time to tell you, hey, what's trending, and you're not going to like this one, Vikings fans. Adam Thielen out for the remainder of the year. That ankle injury, season-ending surgery. Vikings need to win out, including, obviously, beating the Packers this weekend. And I think you need Philadelphia to lose one of the next two games, and it's Dallas and the Washington football team.
Which that Dallas... I mean, the Vikings can help themselves out because you beat Green Bay, then Dallas has got a sniff at that number one overall seed.
But they're in Lambeau. Yeah. They're in Lambeau. And, of course, with the changes this year, only one team and both the AFC and NFC get that bye week, which is why you're saying if the Packers lose to the Vikings, that's a very big if. Does Dallas rest? We'll find out. Only time will tell. In the meantime, let's get you caught up with some KFGO headlines with Paul Jurgens.
KFGO News, it is mostly cloudy and 7 below zero. Grand Forks man has now been cited for driving under suspension and not stopping for a train after his pickup collided with a freight train at a crossing on Main Street in Northwood, North Dakota yesterday afternoon. The State Patrol says 34-year-old Jacob Peterson turned onto a crossing when the train struck his pickup, pushing it into a ditch. The crossing is marked. Peterson was not seriously hurt. The train was going about 25 miles an hour. A stranded truck driver stayed on his cab for nearly 3 days after he lost control of his semi and ended up in a ditch on State Highway 32 near Fingal, North Dakota. The Barnes County Sheriff's Office says the driver chose to stay in the cab until his semi could be towed out. A tow service delivered fuel to the stranded driver. He was in touch with sheriff's dispatchers and deputies, and a state trooper checked on him until he was pulled from the ditch. Most Minnesota law enforcement agencies have chosen not to follow guidelines mandating officers with a history of misconduct wear body cameras. 2 years ago, the League of Minnesota Cities created a model policy requiring problem officers wear cameras. Only 10 of 108 agencies with publicly available body camera policies have adopted the policy. Minneapolis and St. Paul have not adopted the policy. Face masks will be recommended for Saturday's Winter Classic hockey game at Target Field.
Wild President Matt Maka.
People make their own decisions, and we'll see how it all turns out here. But we've been hosting games, and as have all the other sports teams in this manner for a number of months now, and we're going along pretty well, all things considered.
The Wild have not played since their December 20th game against Dallas due to the NHL's pause on the season as it deals with COVID outbreaks.
That is reporter Laura Oakes. KFGO Weather Center forecast. We are now under a wind chill advisory until noon tomorrow. And KFGO Weather Center forecast from meteorologist Tom Szymanski. Mostly cloudy this afternoon, about 6 below. We may see a flurry or a little light snow. Overnight, mostly cloudy, 14 below. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, light snow in the morning perhaps, and 0. 7 below. Paul Jurgens, News Radio KFGO.
I've never knew the full lyric to this song.
I think it's revved up like a deuce. Another rumor in the night.
I got to hear.
Or another runner in the night. I'm not sure.
I've never looked it up. I've never done the Google from Manfred Mann's Earth Band.
But what movie does it spring to?
I don't know.
It's for me. It's a montage scene in Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights. We'll get there. Blinded by the Light. Come on.
Oh wait, we got to have a little guitar solo in the middle.
Just plucking away there. That's just a finger tap. Okay, listen. I mean, you sounded like you were quite close.
Yeah, it's either runner or rumor in the night. I'm not sure.
I never. Somebody out there knows it. 35270. Don't make me Google it because I'm not in the mood to go to Google today. I watched The Social Dilemma last. Boy, does that make you really question a lot. I mean, not really, but it provides more of the intricacies of how terrible your social media accounts are for you. And that was all made prior to things really going to hell.
Did it make you want to delete everything?
Yeah, I have before. I've deleted, but then just like they explained to you, you kind of keep crawling back. I blame some of it on the profession. Yeah, because there's a lot of communication that happens locally here on some of that. So it's like, God, I better dabble. But I don't scroll for hour upon hour. I don't TikTok, which I know is the rage. More and more people are wanting that video component, which, hey, you can watch us right now do radio. So I'm not speaking without the hint of irony here. That you can go to YouTube and watch us do radio or to KFGO.com. But, boy, that one, it was eye-opening. If you haven't seen it, go take a little bit of time on Netflix and watch that one and really evaluate some of that. 35270. We were talking, if you're just joining us, welcome. This is Afternoons Live. I'm Tyler Axis, your host. Eric Johnson, the other voice, he's the producer. We're going to be with you at 5 o'clock each and every day of the week here. About the $1,000 bonuses that went out to City of Fargo employees. I'm all for it. The more messages came in about that. So that's why I'm just getting you caught up to speed. Tyler, let's put this in perspective. Fire and police come in contact with COVID patients every day of the week when they call for an ambulance. My hat's off for those frontline workers. And they emphasize frontline workers. I think that's appropriate as well. Because, in Minnesota, they're debating on something similar. I don't know what the dollar amount has whittled down to. They're going to have a session coming up in St. Paul, in a few weeks, I do believe, to try to come to some consensus on this frontline. I don't know if we call it that appreciation, like we do, the appreciation bonus. So, I mean, yeah, City of Fargo, maybe they're spearheading it here, but those frontline workers, that's what they're trying to decide what categorizes as a frontline worker. And I think those that were out there on the front lines, like you just put in, when it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to ambulance, when it comes to fire, those that are out there in contact every single day, the nursing staff, those that they didn't get an option to go work remotely. I mean, there was a stretch there where I had to work remotely. I have the ability to do so. Not everybody did. That's what that frontline worker out there, those truck drivers come to mind as well. Those that were stocking shelves, those that were checking you out, and especially in that early stage when none of us knew what in the world was going on. Some will argue we still don't. I mean, we're a week from today, I'm expected to be on a plane heading down to Frisco to bring you the sights and sounds of the national championship. You know what's been creeping into the conversation over the last 4 days? If that title game goes on, which I hope it does, don't get me wrong, but when you're watching on the FBS level and you're seeing these bowl games getting canceled. There was a game I think that was expected to be played yesterday, if not on Monday, that 5 hours before kickoff, they pulled the plug. Teams were already there. Families flew across the country to watch their young athlete perform in a bowl game only to have that ripped away with 5 hours before kickoff. So the early stages of those frontline workers, that when we didn't know that hesitancy, I think we've become more dull. We've certainly learned more about it, but I think we've established that, boy, there's a lot more to learn when it comes to this pandemic, when it comes to the variants, this last one being the Omicron. But those that were out there in the initial stages of that had such hesitancy and had such uncertainty on what they were getting themselves into just to keep things moving. Whether it's the city employee, law enforcement, the clerks, the attendants at the gas. I mean, I think it's safe to say we can include them in frontline workers as well, right? And I think the balance they're trying to find in Minnesota, which I can understand to an extent, is if you increase the number of people that we qualify as frontline workers, that diminishes the amount of what that bonus, the appreciation, the thank you that we have in Minnesota to those frontline workers. It diminishes what each will get. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Wasn't it very long ago that they established that, boy, we have quite a bit of a budget surplus in the great state of Minnesota? Seems like that could be a one-time fix, right? That's my opinion. I'd love to get yours at 35270. One more about the city, unless you got more to add, and then we'll switch gears here in just a little bit here. Speaking of Minnesota, Michelle Fischbach caught my attention the other day. Not because she's doing much, but because she's one of those that's out there trying to sell merchandise. But we'll get into that in a minute. Plus, John Madden and some festive events you can go to over the weekend. Tyler, as a city employee, we work 24/7. We get called in for storms, whether it's winter or summer, holidays, weekends, in the middle of the night. When we get called in for a situation that pay has not changed in over 30 years or more, but we do it because we love our community, even if it's frustratingly poor pay. Well, thank you again for doing that. We'll switch gears. Michelle Fischbach, when we come back right here, got a Locked In After News Live. Stick around.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two. Doug here with the morning crew this morning. Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah
7.
Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Why do I like ice fishing so much? I don't know. To me, it's just something I enjoy and just a hobby that I've been into for quite a few years. And I'm not necessarily good at it, but I enjoy it. It's fun. It's good time to get out and hang out with all your buddies and just get away from reality for a little while. First time that I ever went ice fishing, I was I was like 6 or 7, and I actually fell through the ice. We were in a portable ice house, and I was standing in there, and my dad and my uncle Kevin were moving it, and when they pushed it, I wasn't ready for it, and my leg went down the hole. That was fun. It was cold. You can get into hunting and fishing and stuff like that relatively cheap, and it's just like buying a vehicle. You can spend thousands and thousands of dollars, or you can just go to Walmart and get enough stuff and go out and do it, and you can be just as successful as the people that spend all the money on it. North Bros Outdoors, yeah, me and a buddy of mine, Jacob Enixon, we went to high school together, and we actually had the idea back in high school to make an outdoors page, just hunting and fishing, four-wheeling, anything outdoors basically. A lot of it right now, it's really, really heavily based on ice fishing, and this fall it was heavily based on deer hunting and bow hunting and rifle season too. So yeah, just kind of an outdoors group, and we call ourselves North Bros Outdoors. We got a Facebook.
The Voice of Sports in just a little bit. Talk about John Madden and the areas of which three incredible separate careers, but all wrapped up into one topic, one industry with the NFL. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I'd ask because I didn't know the lyrics to Blinded by the Light. Yeah, I've got a lot of people correcting me. Tyler, it's Wrapped Up Like a Deuce, Another Runner in the Night, which I think was close to what we had established. But Deuce being a car. I had no idea. Blinded by the Light are the headlights in a car. She is the gal flagging the start of the race. So there's a story to be told.
Think Little Deuce Coupe by the
yeah.
Beach Boys.
Fair.
Yeah.
I'd never put it together till this moment. Right now, at 3:19 on a Wednesday, somebody griping. Dude, same topics that News and Views said. By all means, I appreciate you listening. If you got something to talk about, it's an open forum. You can have the courage to call into the Laney Studio line at 237-594. I'm all ears for you. Michelle Fischbach's staff will be all ears here, hopefully in a minute, because of the trolling status that we have allowed to just fill up elected officials right now. You have, and we talked about this the other day, coincidentally when I was hosting News and Views, about the individual. I think it was on the West Coast that you had the Christmas calls coming from the White House, which it happens probably in every administration. I know that Donald Trump did because I remember one of the videos of him making phone calls wishing Merry Christmas to families. Joe Biden did it. Probably Barack Obama. I mean, I don't know how far back it goes, but it's nothing new. But referring to the end of our conversation at the last hour about the city employees earning the $1,000 bonus, I was saying we got spit on, and I'm taking that individual for their word as a self-described public employee. I have no reason to doubt anything he texted in. But I said, what's brought out the worst behavior in some of us? I mean, has it been the strain of the pandemic? What started the acceptance of some of this behavior that we were taught as children to grow out of? And now we were reverting back to it in some cases. But in the moment in which you got Joe Biden calling families, wishing children Merry Christmas, you had one father that had the whole "Let's go, Brandon" is how he closed out the phone call, which, if you've been following along with that slogan, that identity. I mean, it's become some people's full identity to be cheering that whenever because it makes them feel included. I don't know. I don't understand it. But you've got that moment. Now, that individual felt that he was becoming the victim because people called him out for his, 7-year-old behavior and telling the president to go blank. But now you've got people putting that individual who said, I was joking. Well, let's be real, because now he's come out and admitted some of the backstory there. But now he's fiddling around with the idea of running for office. And that's the latest I'd seen there. I mean, he's now been put on that pedestal to where now it's shoved in our face that we got to pay attention to this guy because he's going to run for office. But it's not just out in those, those moments, those areas. That's no longer, out there as far as being, on the fringe of a political candidacy. I mean, you've got in Minnesota's 7th district, Congresswoman Michelle Fischbach out here trying to sell merchandise with that same slogan on it. And it's just, when did this turn come to where even those that are in elected office no longer seem to be serious about the job? That's more about the trolling aspect that you get from, others that are not in elected office. Certainly they might benefit. They might be on the receiving end of it. But now you've got it coming straight from elected officials. Yeah, so she's selling merchandise with. But when did we go from having someone like a Colin Peterson, whom, any given day Democrats just were so frustrated with him. One day you'd have Republicans frustrated with him because he was a straight shooter. He went out there, but he did the job. I mean, he did the job of being an elected official. Most of the times a statesman. And there are statesmen, men and women out there certainly in the office, but this goes into that this is now becoming more of the norm and not just the outlier. You've got an elected official, a congresswoman, and Michelle Fischbach, using the same tactics that was used from a parent over the weekend over Christmas. And I mean, if this is going to be the trend, no wonder why you're not going to have serious people wanting to run for office. In North Dakota, for example, you've got people that have been long-term servants. You've got people that have maybe not been there as long, but certainly were respected. They were, able to work across the aisle. And I'm talking about Republicans working with a few Democrats in the state, and certainly vice versa. There's a reason why you're seeing people saying, you know what, I'm throwing up my hands. This just isn't quite for me. I don't know what turns it around. I don't know if there's a moment to which you can look at a Michelle Fischbach and say, let's be serious. You are elected. You're supposed to have a certain way of communicating and just going out there getting the job done instead of trying to be a troll like others have been for quite some time that we just kind of laughed off in the past. But now when it's coming from elected office, carries a little bit different weight, does it not? 237-5948. You could also text in to 35270. Messages still coming in about the employees here in Fargo. Tyler, so someone gets a $1,000 bonus. Heaven forbid we question a $49 million severance to a person that never met a middle-class person he thought was worth their salary. The $49 million severance, are you referring to now, of course, is it Krabanoff? I cannot think of on Sanford. Are you referring to that? Because I took issue with that immediately as well. I mean, we talked about that situation right here on Afternoons Live the same day it broke, because you have that situation in which you've got nurses, you've got those doctors that have been, busting their behinds, certainly included them on the front line of all this, into, being worn out, and then you have this individual premiums going up, all of that, and you got the one individual that then just, all right, well, see ya, I'm going to take this, and not even be willing to answer questions. Instead say, well, I'm on vacation. I'm retired. The arrogance was oozing certainly there. And I did question it. So I think it's appropriate. I don't have any issue, though, why a $1,000 bonus going to city employees has become an issue whatsoever. That one you got to explain to me. Tyler, do you think a 6-6 team playing in a little-known bowl game has an equal interest in the game as compared to a 10-2 or an 11-1 team playing for a championship ring? Think about it. Which team is going to be more disciplined? I totally disagree with you. I mean, I think the team itself, the players, I mean, for some of them, they're seniors. I think that they do have an interest to go out there perform, whether that's one last time. I mean, there's a competitiveness that still is in a team. Even if you had a 500 team, you still got that one last game. So I wouldn't question their want or will to go out there and play, even if it is in one of the 40-some odd unusually named bowl games that we have instead of the 4 or 5 top ones that have been around for quite some time. So I'm not there with you. I think that the team would want to be playing. As far as the discipline, I think you've been seeing, whether it's in college football, the NHL, the NFL certainly, that this is going through organizations, even with those strict protocols, with that discipline being there. Like I was saying, I think there's still a lot more to learn about where we are and where we're going with this new variant. All right, I'm going to get you caught up with KFJO News. We'll check back in with Rusty Halverson. Jack Michaels, the voice of sports. We'll talk John Madden next.
KFGO News, mostly cloudy, 6 below. I'm Paul Jurgens. Minnesota is reporting nearly 70 more COVID-19 related deaths. One of the state's top COVID experts calls it alarming. Health Department Infectious Disease Director Chris Erisman says many people without pre-existing conditions are getting sick and dying.
People that are, out and about leading a healthy life, not frail and on oxygen and barely hanging on. No, these are very sad situations.
Erisman says people in her 40s, 50s, and 60s have died of the virus in Minnesota in recent weeks. She says most are not vaccinated. 6 below, this is KFGO News. Six below, this is KFGO News. Snow removal begins overnight in downtown Fargo, forcing residents and others to move their vehicles or face the prospect of getting towed. The work begins at 2 a.m. Cars found in no parking zones on streets will be impounded. Streets between 2nd and 7th Avenues north from 2nd Street to University are affected. Parking on avenues will be allowed. Residents are urged to take advantage of city parking ramps and parking lots during the process. Icy roads continue to cause significant travel problems for drivers across the region. Sergeant Troy Christensen is with the Minnesota State Patrol.
It's important for everybody just to make sure they always put their seatbelt on and just drive defensively and eliminate the distractions in the vehicle and just pay attention to your speeds. We're still seeing high speeds on the roadway.
Statewide, the patrol responded to 139 crashes and 110 spinouts or vehicles off the road in a 12-hour period ending at 7 this morning. Highway 10 and I-94 are trouble spots in the DOT's Detroit Lakes District. A Grand Forks man was cited for driving under suspension and not stopping for a train after his pickup collided with a freight train at a crossing on Main Street in Northwood, North Dakota yesterday afternoon. The State Patrol says 34-year-old Jacob Peterson turned onto a crossing when the train struck his pickup, pushing it into a ditch. The crossing is marked. Peterson was not seriously hurt. The train was going about 25 miles an hour. The Becker County Sheriff's Office has identified the man killed in a house fire last week northeast of Detroit Lakes. He was 47-year-old Wesley Stahlboger. The fire broke out early last Wednesday morning. The roof had collapsed by the time deputies arrived. It was a long couple of days for a semi-driver who left State Highway 32 and went into the ditch near Fingal, North Dakota. He left the road early last Sunday morning and stayed in his truck until yesterday. Barnes County Chief Deputy Pat Sands says deputies checked on the trucker, who told them that he was okay and would prefer to stay put. A tow truck brought him fuel to keep the truck running. Sands says there was a language barrier, but the company he worked for assured sheriff's dispatchers that he was safe. The truck and trailer were eventually pulled from that ditch. A man and two teenagers are in custody after police say they followed a St. Paul woman home and stole her car with a 3-year-old inside. A man with a gun confronted the woman at her house and drove her car away while she frantically pulled her child from a car seat. Sheriff's deputies spotted the vehicle in Minneapolis. A 17-year-old boy jumped out and was captured after a short foot chase on the University of Minnesota campus. Police spotted the stolen car again later. An 18-year-old man and a 14-year-old boy were arrested after a foot chase. Mostly cloudy, Fargo-Moorhead overnight. We expect a low of about 14 below zero and then steady or slowly rising temperatures. Will be mostly cloudy tomorrow, maybe some light snow tomorrow morning and 0 tomorrow's high. 7 below, New Year's Eve, mostly cloudy, some sunshine, but still cold for New Year's Day, just 11 below. Mostly sunny Sunday and 6 above. Fargo-Moorhead, 6 below. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
Rusty Halverson back in the KFGO studio.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back, man.
Thank you.
What's been shaking on over in the KFGO News Center for you?
Well, we talked last hour about how supply chain issues still fresh in the minds of many folks. We've got rising prices for fuel, for seed, fertilizer prices on the ride. rise, and food prices for consumers on the rise as well. After 2 straight years of above-average food price increases, Matt McLaughlin of USDA says more increases are likely to occur in 2022.
For now, we are forecasting that prices for all food will increase between 2 and 3%, and that food away from home prices will increase 3 to 4%. That's slightly above their historical average of about 2.8%. And that food at home will increase somewhere between 1.5 and 2.5%, centered on its historical average of 2%.
According to USDA's latest consumer price index for food, and the numbers lag a little bit, Tyler, because I've got to compile everything, but grocery store prices in November, 6.4% higher than in November of 2020. Food away from home, restaurant prices, 5.8% higher than November of last year, and looks like we're going to tack on some more advances for next year, too.
You know, this is reminding me of an article that I saw in the New York Times, and I'll read the headline for you because I pulled it up while we're listening to Matt.
Sure.
Record beef prices, but ranchers aren't cashing in.
Yeah.
You know, so when we talk about these rising prices, those that are putting the work in, putting the labor, putting the input costs, they're not on the receiving end of their increase in money is not coming in.
No.
You know, so it just begs, especially on the beef side, again, have we heard anything on the Department of Justice investigation
recently
at all?
No, not recently. We haven't heard any updates there. It's not often they would probably comment on an investigation.
Right. It's still, because earlier on this year, when we had the transition to the Biden administration, we had talked, because the Trump administration had, I think, made it known that they wanted to look into this, whether or not the Packers were, you know, price gouging or whatever it might be.
Yep.
And I know that there was a bipartisan group of congressmen and women and
Yes.
senators saying, we urge this administration to continue that. I don't recall if they ever acknowledged that they were going to or not going to.
The DOJ?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did. Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if you brought that forward. I thought you had.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure. So
Yeah.
it's nice to have a little bit of information on that.
Yeah, and I think, in fact, it's been this summer, a lot of farm state lawmakers were asking for an update. Yeah. But again, we haven't heard anything very public about that. Maybe there have been some behind-the-scenes updates in D.C. I don't know. Yeah. That's
need to know basis, and we just quite frankly don't need to know is what I'm hearing.
That's, you know, like if you're a member of the Senate or House Intelligence Committee, they know a lot of stuff that we don't know.
Things a lot of people probably don't want to know. But, you know, talking just with general food prices, you know, people hosting this holiday weekend, they noticed.
Yeah.
That they did. I mean, you're paying more for these prices. You're paying more for not just beef, as we're talking about, and I'm acknowledging again, ranchers, you're not cashing in.
Yep.
But you know, everything is costing more.
Whether you're talking about a $50 bag of groceries or a $100 bag of groceries, you're not getting as many items in that bag as you have.
No, it is noticeable, and I don't like hearing that it's probably going on into next year. It's not a surprise.
Yeah,
but
and we're talking, 2 to 3% in general. That's a couple of pennies, 3 pennies on the dollar, but it's still overall
it adds up.
It adds up.
Yeah, it does. All
Yep.
right.
It does.
Rusty Halverson, appreciate it, man. I'll
Yes,
let you
sir.
go. All right, we're going to talk about that John Madden cover. One Minnesota
Aha.
Viking, only one has been on that cover.
I'll be listening.
Since 1988. Now we're on, obviously, 2021. One. It surprised me.
I bet it's not Brett Favre.
Correct. It is.
I got that right.
No, Brett Favre has graced the cover, but not in that purple and gold. He
okay.
was
partially.
Yeah,
okay.
he's been on the Madden cover.
Huh.
Oh, well, I'll let you go.
Was there okay?
No,
quickly,
go on.
Is there a curse about being on the cover of that video game?
I think that's
is it that or Wheaties or which one was it?
No, it was the Madden curse.
Campbell's soup. It is the Madden curse.
It was the Madden curse. No, you're thinking about the chunky soup.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's any curse there.
Okay.
But yes, and I don't. So Madden was on the cover. Like John Madden himself was on the cover from 88 to 99. 2000, I believe, is when they started having players on the cover.
Okay.
If not, it was 2001. It was one of those two.
Okay.
The Minnesota Viking, I think, was on. He was the second Viking or the second player to grace that cover.
Ooh.
But yes, there was that whole, because I think when Tom Brady got on the cover, I think it was the year that he tore his ACL, and I think
yes.
I mean there's
in fact a good friend of mine, and his fantasy football league in their draft. He had the number 1 pick. Who does he take that year? Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Oh.
I have the guy, one of my buddies that's listening, did the same thing.
Oh, no.
Speaking of fantasy, dare I say that I went from mediocre to now being in the championship?
No, get out.
Yeah. You want to know what my record was before I got into the playoffs?
Oh, boy.
5-9.
Really?
I had a bad year, but boy, you know what? It feels good to be in that championship game, baby.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if the Vikings can pull it out.
See, you're saying there's a chance.
You're saying there's a
God, I
chance.
had such a terrible year in fantasy. It's not why I called. I appreciate the agriculture up here.
You
Bill.
bet.
All
You
right,
bet.
we'll let you go.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Audible's tomorrow. It's Thursday.
Oh, yeah, you bet.
Get some well-rested sleep tonight.
Absolutely.
You want to check out more of his work, Sarah Heinrich, KFGO.com. All you got to do is click on that agriculture tab and learn more. Some messages coming in, and I'll get to those in a little bit. I got Jack Michaels, the voice of sports, here talking about John Mann. I'd ask, when did this behavior start? There's some offerings up in the text club. I'll address those in a little bit of time as well. CBS National News on the way. More Afternoons Live next.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen, Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two. Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning. Paul Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Why do I like ice fishing so much? I don't know. To me, it's just something I enjoy and just a hobby that I've been into for quite a few years. And I'm not necessarily good at it, but I enjoy it. It's fun. It's good time to get out and hang out with all your buddies and just get away from reality for a little while. First time that I ever went ice fishing, I was like 6 or 7, and I actually fell through the ice. We were in a portable ice house, and I was standing in there, and my dad and my uncle Kevin were moving it, and when they pushed it, I wasn't ready for it, and my leg went down the hole. That was fun. It was cold. You can get into hunting and fishing and stuff like that relatively cheap, and it's just like buying a vehicle. You can spend thousands and thousands of dollars, or you can just go to Walmart and get enough stuff and go out and do it, and you can be just as successful as the people that spend all the money on it. North Bros Outdoors, yeah, me and a buddy of mine, Jacob Enixon, we went to high school together, and we actually had the idea back in high school to make an outdoors page, just hunting and fishing, four-wheeling, anything outdoors basically. A lot of it right now, it's really, really heavily based on ice fishing, and this fall it was heavily based on deer hunting and bow hunting and rifle season too. So yeah, just kind of an outdoors group, and we call ourselves North Bros Outdoors. We've got a Facebook, an Instagram, and a YouTube channel. There's plenty of brands out there that you can get into it. If you're questioning it and you want to do it, do it. You won't regret it. The outdoors it's awesome.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good.
I told you Jack Michaels next. Well, I lied. He's coming in at 4. Okay, so we'll talk about John Mann at 4 o'clock. In the meantime, I just got handed something from Paul Jergens when it comes to bonuses. This one at the state level, but I want to address this one message first because I was asking because it sparked because of the guy that did the whole "Let's Go Brandon" to the president when the president was making a phone call to his kids to tell him Merry Christmas. Now that guy, because he's been on the Newsmax, been on the OANs, whatever platform, and now he's considering running for office. And that's not That's not unusual now because you have Michelle Fishbox trying to sell merchandise that has the same slogan. All right, when did elected officials that become accepted behavior? Is where this message comes in. I want to address it. Tyler, it started happening when our last sitting president was insulted every day by politicians and the media. When you see no respect for a president for 4 years straight, it becomes the norm. And this one's signed by David. But my question then goes to, the 8 years prior to that. I remember rallies happening around the country that was at the time, that was a grassroots. They said it was the Tea Party, right? And I remember some of the signs that were out there as well when it came to depicting Barack Obama, then sitting president, and some of the attitudes, some of the effigies they had then. I remember also Fox News, for example, getting outraged about a tan suit at the time. I'm bringing this up because it didn't just start over the last 4 years, over the last sitting president. And I could say, you know what, it probably didn't start just with Barack Obama either. I think it started to amplify under his time in office. I mean, I seem to remember also during, say, the George Bush administration, some of the rhetoric that was going on with, and at that time, I'd say it was probably MSNBC. And I'm not trying to say, both sides is them, but my point is this didn't start with Donald Trump being insulted every day in office and people getting tired of it. Because some of the people that are probably tired of it were part of the commentary that happened under the previous administration and Barack Obama. So but my thing is, then at that time, though, with Obama in office, and I would say even George Bush, I don't think that you had people in office just going out there trying to get as many likes, clicks, and using it as to raise more money, and basically doing, as the kids say, just trolling. I mean, it seems to diminish the seriousness of the office, certainly of the individual. And when they're going out on these antics, trying to do this to look hip and maybe look cool and gather some new followers. But, you used to have higher expectations, I think, from those that wanted to be public servants. And now that's just not the case, it appears to me. You want to respond by any means, if you agree, disagree, 35270. Laney studio line open as well, 237-5948. Before I get you caught up with the weather, I want to throw this out there. I was just handed this, and I don't have the breakdown here. That's where I'm going to buy myself a little bit of space here, because I just said, you know what, the city of Fargo employees, you've earned it, and there's state employees that certainly do as well when it comes to bonuses. But this headline, North Dakota spent $8.4 million this year on bonuses for some state workers, a record sum that was more than double paid out in 2020. And I can't for the life of me come in here and say, well, city employees here in Fargo, you've been working hard, you earn it, and not have that same sentiment towards state employees, those plow drivers, for example. Remember, it wasn't long ago when they were threatening to shut down those rural DOT stations, in which, boy, could you imagine what Sunday night into Monday would have been like had those actually been closed down? But where the breakdown is here for me is what I've got to learn more of. A little more than a third of the nearly 9,300 state employees received the bonuses, including several from Republican Governor Doug Burgum's office. So that's the breakdown that I've got to dive more into before I could say whether or not, hey, this is the appropriate use or not. Because if you recall, in the previous administration there, you have got in Jack Dalrymple, there was a whole conversation of whether or not he was handing out bonuses on his way out of office, remember? To say his chief of staff. That was retention bonuses. Because you know what? Maybe Ron Rauschenberger would have left if I didn't give. He was going to leave anyway. So that's where this enters the conversation over and over of whether or not the governor doling these out, if they're doled out to the people that are out there on those front lines, as other people talked about, then I'm for it. But we'll have to break that down a little bit. In the meantime, messages pouring in about my comments a moment ago. I'll get to those after this KFGO weather update. Stick around.
Why Why do I like ice fishing so much? I don't know, to me it's just something I enjoy and just a hobby that I've been into for quite a few years, and I'm not necessarily good at it, but I enjoy it. It's fun. It's good time to get out and hang out with all your buddies and just get away from reality for a little while. First time that I ever went ice fishing, I was like 6 or 7, and I actually fell through the ice. We were in a portable ice house, and I was standing in there, and my dad and my uncle Kevin were moving it, and when they pushed it, I wasn't ready for it, and my leg went down the hole. That was fun. It was cold. You can get into hunting and fishing and stuff like that relatively cheap, and it's just like buying a vehicle. You can spend thousands and thousands of dollars, or you can just go to Walmart and get enough stuff and go out and do it, and you can be just as successful as the people that spend all the money on it. North Bros Outdoors, yeah, me and a buddy of mine, Jacob Enixon, we went to high school together, and we actually had the idea back in high school to make an outdoors page, just hunting and fishing, four-wheeling, anything outdoors basically. A lot of it right now, it's really, really heavily based on ice fishing, and this fall it was heavily based on deer hunting and bow hunting and rifle season too. So yeah, just kind of an outdoors group, and we call ourselves North Bros Outdoors. We've got a Facebook, an Instagram, and a YouTube channel. There's plenty of brands out there that you can get into it. If you're questioning it and you want to do it, do it. You won't regret it. The outdoors it's awesome.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. The hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11. And volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that? It Takes Two. Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning. Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
we're clicking, we're liking, we're sharing, we're sending money. I mean, there's got to be a moment of self-reflection. That does not start until you start talking about it and having the conversation. So thanks for getting it started here. This one I'll leave with you, and it's not on topic exactly, because we were talking about, I didn't know the lyric of Blinded by the Light. It was very confusing for me, and I thought I knew it. I was close. And I think there's probably a lot of you out there that misheard things in that lyric. Tyler, by the way, talking about song lyrics, what is the actual chorus to Sister Christian by Night Ranger? I don't have it.
I do. You're motoring. What's your price for flight? In finding Mr. Right, you'll be all right tonight.
You sounded like a slam poet back there.
Little spoken word?
Spoken word poetry. Do you have a fedora black?
Not on me.
Black rimmed glasses?
More of a derby guy in honor of my dad.
Black turtleneck? Black Betty, you know what this what?
I don't have a neck, so turtlenecks don't really work.
It's like it's slowly suffocating you. I don't remember a comedian had that. More messages coming in. I will get to those in just a little bit. A verdict has been reached in the Maxwell jury. We'll be bringing that to you whenever that result is. Jack Michaels, I'll give you my word. He is next right here on KFGO. Let's talk. John Madden passing away at 85.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Why do I like ice fishing so much? I don't know, to me it's just something I enjoy and just a hobby that I've been into for quite a few years, and I'm not necessarily good at it, but I enjoy it. It's fun. It's good time to get out and hang out with all your buddies and just get away from reality for a little while. First time that I ever went ice fishing, I was like 6 or 7, and I actually fell through the ice. We were in a portable ice house, and I was standing in there, and my dad and my uncle Kevin were moving it, and when they pushed it, I wasn't ready for it, and my leg went down the hole. That was fun. It was cold. You can get into hunting and fishing and stuff like that relatively cheap, and it's just like buying a vehicle. You can spend thousands and thousands of dollars, or you can just go to Walmart and get enough stuff and go out and do it, and you can be just as successful as the people that spend all the money on it. North Bros Outdoors, yeah, me and a buddy of mine, Jacob Enixon, we went to high school together, and we actually had the idea back in high school to make an outdoors page, just hunting and fishing, four-wheeling, anything outdoors basically. A lot of it right now, it's really, really heavily based on ice fishing, and this fall it was heavily based on deer hunting and bow hunting and rifle season too. So yeah, just kind of an outdoors group, and we call ourselves North Bros Outdoors. We've got a Facebook, an Instagram, and a YouTube channel. There's plenty of brands out there that you can get into it. If you're questioning it and you want to do it, do it. You won't regret it. The outdoors it's awesome.
Halverson here with another Don Lee at your news radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that from It Takes Two? Doug Lear with the morning crew this morning. Paul Jerkins News Radio.
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
.405 on a Wednesday. Time for a fact checker at 4. Here's a question for you. This is what I saw online the other day. I'm like, is this true? We'll tell you in a moment. Did Alexa, the voice, sorry if I just started them all off on you, but I'm going to say, Alexa, your Amazon Echo device, did it challenge a 10-year-old girl to touch a penny to the exposed prongs of a plug hallway inserted into an electrical socket?
No.
It did.
Really?
This is true. That old Echo Amazon.
Terrifying.
Yeah, so Amazon frantically trying to correct whatever malfunction caused that. So that's true, hauntingly true. We're going to be visiting with Jack Michaels here in a moment about John Madden passing away yesterday, about him as a coach, certainly as a broadcaster, and then, of course, the legacy continuing on with Madden the game. But a jury did reach a verdict in the is it Ghislaine? I don't know how you even say her name.
I've always heard it Ghislaine.
Maxwell. So if you're not familiar, she's been in that close proximity to the Jeffrey Epstein. A jury reached the verdict. Once that does come out, as far as being guilty or not, we'll let you know. In the meantime, Paul Jerkins in that KFGO News Center, take it away.
KFGO News, Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy and 7 below. Overnight, we expect about 14 below zero. North Dakota spent nearly $8.5 million this year on bonuses for some state workers, a record sum that was more than double paid out in 2020. A little more than a third of the nearly 9,300 state employees received the bonuses, including several from Governor Doug Burgum's office. The bulk of bonuses paid to state employees comes from agencies in the governor's cabinet. The legislature approved the program in 1999 to reward, recruit, and retain employees for hard-to-fill state jobs. The program is drawing criticism, increasingly, because not all state agencies give out the bonuses. A stranded truck driver stayed in his cab for nearly 3 days after he lost control of his semi and ended up in a ditch on State Highway 13 near Fingal, North Dakota. The Barnes County Sheriff's Office says the driver chose to stay in the cab until his semi could be towed out. A tow service delivered fuel to the stranded driver. He was in touch with sheriff's dispatchers and deputies, and a state trooper checked on him until he was pulled from the ditch. The disaster for essential workers on the front lines, that from Minnesota Nurses Association President Mary Turner about new CDC COVID guidelines.
Turner criticizes the CDC's decision to shorten recommended quarantine from 10 days down to 5 and not require a negative COVID test to end isolation. And she says healthcare workers exposed to COVID-19 are no longer required to quarantine if they're vaccinated and boosted. She says it may be good for businesses' bottom lines, but will put nurses, other workers, and the public at greater risk. CDC officials say there's growing evidence that people with COVID are most infectious in the first few days, and they want to, quote, safely keep society functioning while following the science. Bill Werner reporting.
Most Minnesota law enforcement agencies have chosen not to follow guidelines mandating officers with a history of misconduct wear body cameras. 2 years ago, the League of Minnesota Cities created a model policy requiring problem officers wear cameras. Only 100 agencies with publicly available body camera policies have adopted that policy. Fire crews put out a fire at the Federal Reserve Building in Minneapolis today. Firefighters found heavy smoke in a loading dock near a metal roll-up door. The door was frozen shut, and an employee had used a torch to break it free. The heat from the torch started a small fire in insulation. There was no significant damage. Fargo-Moorhead, 14 below overnight to mostly cloudy sky. Will be mostly cloudy again tomorrow. Little light snow is possible in the morning and 0. Then New Year's Eve day, mostly cloudy, 7 below. New Year's Day, mostly sunny, 11 below. Sunday, mostly sunny and 6 above. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy, 6 below, 0. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
Afternoon's live rolling on. You got it locked into 790 AM and 104.7 FM KFGO. Joining me now is sports director of KFGO. You know him as Jack Michaels, the voice of sports here on KFGO. And Jack, I wanted to have you in last night. Word coming down, John Madden, who, perhaps the most influential person in all of NFL,
yes.
And I'll ask you about that, passed away, 85 years old. And it caught people by surprise by the sounds of it.
It's not, yeah, I saw it yesterday too, and I'm like, oh, John Madden passed. And Fox just ran a special this past weekend over the holidays on John Madden. I thought that was just so great. Yeah, that's a tough one, Tyler, because he was influential, and I think we were talking about it on the Sportscast this morning on KFGO. Because whatever age you are, whether you're in your 30s or teens now, 20s, 50s, 40s. Depending on how old you are is depending on which John Madden that you got the most of, right?
Yep. Either the coach, the broadcaster, or the namesake of the most popular video game probably ever created here.
Yeah, it's and I didn't realize this, and I researched this, but they have sold 275 million Madden cartridges or sport. 275 million that started out with him on the cover.
Right.
For those who remember, and then it got into players. There was a Madden curse. I think
there was a curse, and I'm going to ask at 35270. There was a Minnesota Viking on one of those covers. I don't know what year it was, and I'm not going to throw it out there, but I know who it is. But you
Which
send
Viking?
into 35. Which Minnesota Viking graced the cover of Madden? You send that in. I'll give you a round of applause. I don't know that I have anything to give you right now.
35270. Let me ask you this: was the Vikings number 35, 27, or double or zero at all? Any of those? No.
It was above 10. It was above the number 10.
That's an intriguing question today.
Now I'm going to have to go back and look to make sure that this player, in fact, was.
You asked the question. I have an idea. I'm not going to give away the answer here because the text club will take care of that.
Yeah, they will. The audience much brighter than I.
I learned two things on John Madden, and I'm sure everybody has their own memory of John. Well, maybe more than two things. But number one, I'm young enough or old enough, I guess, to understand, when he was coaching, and then the Super Bowl against the Vikings in '76. I was a little fella. I was probably out playing with a Nerf ball and paying somewhat attention. But I remember that. And I remember him on the sidelines because he had his either play sheet or media credential or tag from JCPenney. He had that always dangling on his pants, his slacks, and walking the sidelines. And so I remember the John Madden coach. Certainly remember him, and he was with Vin Scully, and he was with Al Michaels, and he's had partners. But there's no question that he and Pat Summerall, as you know,
unreal.
Were as fluid. They were the Sonny and Cher. They were they were the.
You knew it was a headline primetime game if you had those two in the booth.
They danced well together, and it was so genuine. I was playing cuts earlier of today where a pigeon. It was a Giants football game, and I think Phil Simms had dropped back in the pocket, and he launched a ball downfield, and the receiver was in his hands, and he dropped it, and it looked like someone had thrown something onto the field. And Pat Summerall was talking about, someone has thrown a shoe. Is that a shoe?
Who throws a shoe?
Who throws a shoe on the field? And it wasn't. It was a pigeon. And so this pigeon disrupted, it got in the eyesight of the receiver. But then Madden starts taking over, talking about, the pigeon didn't have any room to sit, and he flew down, and the field is open. So the pigeon stays on the field, and Madden just continues to talk about, the next round, just take a left at the pigeon. And he's so genuine on this pigeon talk. And I learned what a turducken was.
So here's the question for you. I had never heard of the turducken until John Madden. I mean, did he make this up? Was it something? I don't know the history of the turducken.
All I know is and I forget which Thanksgiving Day it debuted at.
Yeah.
But you're right. It was always a turkey, and then all of a sudden, coming along this turducken.
And they had like 5 legs on these turkeys at one point.
That's right. And he would break down the turducken. You see here, got the ham, and then get the duck, and then turkey inside the thing, and boom, you got, I wish we had John Caliendo here that could
Frank Caliendo.
Doing that, but it was incredible. And then one thing you learned about John Madden is that he had an innate fear of flying.
Yes.
And so
took a tour bus everywhere.
The Madden Cruiser, it became known as. And a couple of bathrooms in there. It was quite the elite thing. But think about that. If he had a game Sunday in the East Coast or in New York or Philly, and he's a Northern California guy, and so he resides in California, he'd drive across the country to do that game because of his innate fear of flying. I'm not sure if everybody knew that. Maybe you did, but
now you do.
Incredible guy. Was elected to the Hall of Fame not too long ago. Part of that class with Troy Aikman, and there's a great scene on when he found out. And having, I'll use an example, my longtime broadcast partner, Maury Wills, we're waiting for Maury to get in, and he fell short again this last ballot. And I know he doesn't need it to confirm what he meant to baseball and how good he was. What a crime that would have been if John Madden, who kind of felt, he said he was watching the NFL Network when they were announcing who was getting in, not to hear his voice, just because it was to watch. He didn't expect. Yeah. And then when the announcement came that he made it, that scene, I guess his son took a picture of him, and he says, I don't remember, like for 24 hours I was in a fog. He goes, it's the most emotional I've ever been.
Really? And that's where, I started off this conversation with Jack Michaels, my guest here, sports director of KFGO. I mean, with everything, the coach, the broadcaster, the way of which they transcended that into video games. I mean, he's got to be the most influential person, or one of. You got to put him in the top 5. I mean,
I
you think
would
about,
say,
Lombardi.
I would say, we live in a time where people are attached. GMs are attached to coaches. I'm sure Viking fans are out there saying, look, it's time to flush the system. Start with Zimmer, and Rick Spielman maybe has run his thing. Take the GM and the coach out. Yeah. And so on and so forth. Or you've got great pairings, between ownership and GM and ownership and coach. You can look at Robert Kraft and the years with Tom Brady and those in Belichick. Al Davis and John Madden were the Raiders.
Yeah.
They were just the staple of the Raiders. They were the Raiders. They were everything you remember about Raider Nation and this renegade team. Ken Stabler was the perfect quarterback for that team. John Madden was the perfect coach for that team. Al Davis was the perfect owner for that team. He just fit. But the impact he made on broadcasting, Well,
and that's why, because you are a sports broadcaster. Yeah. What was it about John Madden's approach to broadcasting that brought it into people's homes across the country? I mean, he made it just that every man, but also the X's and O's. He molded it so well together. But for you, what was it with John Madden?
When I spoke, and I'll speak to colleges, as I'm sure you have before in our industry, or when I'm asked to speak to communications classes and those that aspire to be play-by-play people. One of the lists of things that amongst the things you need to know, score time, who's ahead, the very fundamentals of broadcasting, what I feel are. The other one is I always tell them, don't confuse your listener. You don't confuse your listener. Don't use, if you start using going, well, they're running the Maryland I and they're running the Princeton back cut and all that. Some audience might not know what a Maryland I is or what a Princeton V cut or something like that is. You're confusing your listener. You may know, and some of your audience may know, and this would make John Madden great. Brilliant coaching mind. But when he became a broadcaster, he put things in such a way where even the male ego, if Tyler and Jack know what all the A gap is about, the B gap, what a pulling guard is, and look at this, he would describe it in a way that just didn't, demean you who knows football. Mm-hmm. And he described it in a way that also elevated those average people that maybe don't know as much about the game. And he put it in such a simplistic form that everybody was involved in the game. And that is the mark of a good broadcaster, if you can break it down. And then the telestrator came along.
Yeah, he was drawing all over that screen.
Next level with the telestrator. He'd circle the guard and then probably circle his buttocks, and say, oh, he's going to circle. He'd circle the buttocks, and then he'd pull an arrow and go, no, watch now. He's going to get up, and he's going to run over here, and then he'd point that arrow, and then he's going to jam up in here, and then he'd put it over here. Then he'd start coloring in, going, then he's going to create a block here. And by the time it was done, it looked like a bad Etch-a-Sketch that you got for Christmas.
And it wasn't even breaking down games. I mean, I remember, and I think it was the Dallas Cowboys, you being a Dallas Cowboy, it was a cold game, and I don't recall where they were, but when you're out there sweating and the steam's coming off your head, and I don't remember who it was, but
like
it was
Otis Sixtron's bald head.
Big bald head. And Madden's talking about how, this is, when you're out sweating, he's circling the head. He's got a lot of space up here. And like you say, that Etch-a-Sketch, and the whole screen was covered with that yellow marker.
His ability to simplistically break down football's a game of X's and O's and designs and stick routes and comebacks and button hooks and flea flickers and pulling guards and pulling tackles and stunts and twists. These are all terms in football that could be confusing if an announcer just says, oh, the defense stunted on that play. That's why they're getting pressure from the middle line. That's confusing. Madden, he would break down that stuff and make it so simple that you left going, I know a little bit more about football right now.
You could carry the conversation at the water cooler the next day at work.
It seems so simple, but from a broadcaster's perspective, it's not, and the ability to do that, and he just did it just effortlessly.
Yeah,
effortlessly.
It was. I mean, he changed the game of football. I would say with coaching out at the Raiders. I mean, the broadcasting. The guy was influential.
Look at his record. He won 3 out of every 4 games in a regular season with the Raiders. Yeah. He got the 1 Super Bowl. He got there. And the funny thing about John Madden, and this to Viking fans that have been there but haven't. John Madden, when he was getting to the big, getting to the divisional conference championship games and then getting a Super Bowl and falling late, they were asking him how frustrated he is by getting there and then falling short of making the Super Bowl or falling short. And he would just look and go, what do you mean frustrated? We're one of the remaining 4 teams or 3. How frustrated is the team on the bottom? We're not frustrated. He was just built about winning games and doing it, staying involved in the season as long as you can.
Just win, baby. I
Just
believe.
win.
Yeah.
And if they lost, you know what? We fared pretty well. We'll pick it up and do it next year. So, yeah, it's sad he's gone. 85 is a good life, but it didn't sound like it was his time. I mean, from what
that's what it surprised me that people, because like you say, 85. I mean, we're all living longer now. I mean, life expectancy is longer, but to hear that it came as a surprise because it seemed like he. Once he was done, he was just kind of, you know what, I'm going to go home and just enjoy watching football and not be in front of the camera, not be doing interviews.
There was something to be said, and I don't know who today is. Aikman and Buck are the number one for Fox now, and people may disagree or not like Joe Buck or think he's arrogant. I've heard otherwise, that he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet off the mic. He maybe comes across with different things over there. Aikman's very good at what I think Troy Aikman's really good at what he does. But Madden to me was almost like as Cronkite was to news.
Sure. Yeah.
Madden to me was kind of like that to football. He just welcomed you, came into your home, you felt really comfortable with him. You felt like you trusty. You're with him. It's just like one of the, as Cronkite was kind of to news, Madden is kind of like that to me for football.
Well, and you're not alone,
right? And Summerall too, obviously.
Yeah, it was a dynamic duo, and glad we were able to take it in, in our lifetime.
And there won't be. Who knows? Maybe there won't be another one. Like there are many great broadcasters out there.
Yeah,
but there's not.
He had that it factor.
There's only one. John Madden.
No doubt. Jack, I appreciate it, man. I'm going to let you go.
Hey, and then 35270. Yes. I'm curious. I've got an idea. Was he tall and lanky who was on the Madden cover?
I wouldn't say lanky.
Huh. All right, I'll call it.
Yeah, 35270. You do the Google.
Thanks, Daddy.
Yeah, Jack Michaels, the sports director here at KFGO. You send in. I don't have anything for you. I'll give you a round of applause, a pat on the back, whatever it is. Who was the Minnesota Viking that was on the Madden cover? More Afternoons Live right after this. I'll get back to the text club at 35270 about the Madden cover, but during my conversation with Jack Michaels, jury has reached its verdict on, is it Ghislaine Maxwell? That's what I'm going with this time. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Well, they did find her guilty on 5 of 6 charges. So verdict announced Wednesday capped a month-long trial featuring accounts of sexual exploitation of girls as young as 14. So jury reached the verdict following along with what I did. Good. They found they came with the right verdict, and you know what, this Maxwell, she's going to be behind bars for a long time because she knowingly perpetrated this. And you know, the reach of this trial and some high profile individuals, who knows what comes down, but this is at least a step in the right direction. The jury finds Maxwell guilty on 5 of 6 counts of sex trafficking a minor for Jeffrey Epstein. So that came in while we're discussing Madden. And here's a lot of text messages about who the Minnesota Vikings player was that was on the cover. 2002. Dante Culpepper, quarterback, was in fact the Minnesota Vikings. A lot of you got it right. All I can do is clap for you. I don't have anything to give you besides, you know what? I tip my cap, my baseball cap I'm wearing as well. Somebody else, and I cannot verify, but this one goes, Dante Culpepper is the easy one for the Madden cover. But remember, there were multiple versions for each region. That's why Adrian Peterson was on the cover in 2014 for the 25th anniversary version. If that's true, I had no idea. So we can put an asterisk. But yes, Dante Culpepper is the one that I found as being the Vikings player on the cover of Madden 2002. All right, we'll get you caught up with KFGO News. We'll tell you about a New Year's Eve midnight buffet next.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Why do I like ice fishing so much? I don't know, to me it's just something I enjoy and just a hobby that I've been into for quite a few years, and I'm not necessarily good at it, but I enjoy it. It's fun. It's good time to get out and hang out with all your buddies and just get away from reality for a little while. First time that I ever went ice fishing, I was like 6 or 7, and I actually fell through the ice. We were in a portable ice house, and I was standing in there, and my dad and my uncle Kevin were moving it, and when they pushed it, I wasn't ready for it, and my leg went down the hole. That was fun. It was cold. You can get into hunting and fishing and stuff like that relatively cheap, and it's just like buying a vehicle. You can spend thousands and thousands of dollars, or you can just go to Walmart and get enough stuff and go out and do it, and you can be just as successful as the people that spend all the money on it. North Bros Outdoors, yeah, me and a buddy of mine, Jacob Enixon, we went to high school together, and we actually had the idea back in high school to make an outdoors page, just hunting and fishing, four-wheeling, anything outdoors, basically. A lot of it right now.
Mostly cloudy. Fargo-Moorhead, it's 6 below zero. I'm Paul Jurgens. Wind chill advisory in effect until noon tomorrow. A man from southern Minnesota and his father have reached a plea agreement with federal prosecutors for their involvement in the January 6th attack at the U.S. Capitol. Daniel Johnson from Austin and Daryl Johnson of Iowa were found on photos and video from the attack. A tip to the FBI helped identify them after Daniel Johnson posted that he was one of the first to get into the building. The charges against them were recently updated to include interfering with an officer, disorderly conduct, and entering a restricted building. North Dakota spent nearly $8.5 million this year on bonuses for some state workers, a record amount that was more than double paid out last year. A little more than a third of the nearly 9,300 state employees received the bonuses, including several from Governor Doug Burgum's office. The bulk of bonuses paid to employees comes from agencies in the governor's cabinet. 6 below, this is KFGO News. 6 below. This is KFGO News. The Becker County Sheriff's Office has identified the man killed in a house fire last week northeast of Detroit Lakes. He was 47-year-old Wesley Stahlboger. The fire broke out early last Wednesday morning. The roof had collapsed by the time deputies arrived. The state fire marshal's office is investigating. The Itasca County Sheriff's Office in northern Minnesota is reporting the death of one of its deputies. 41-year-old Deputy Jamie Williams died of COVID-19 complications after surgery. Williams became infected December 11th, was hospitalized in Deer River, and eventually taken to ICU in Virginia. He was known as Rooster, his badge number in Itasca County, 722. Williams leaves behind a wife and 3 children. This year provided its share of challenges, especially to those struggling with drug and alcohol addiction. Lydia Burr, clinical director at Hazelton Betty Ford in St. Paul, says overdose and overdose deaths were up.
The pandemic and the added amount of stress that has put on people and the perception of having a lack of access to the care that people need to safely access. And another thing that can be attributed to is the presence of fentanyl, which is a synthetic opioid.
A stranded truck driver stayed in his cab for nearly 3 days after he lost control of his semi and ended up in a ditch on State Highway 32 near Fingal, North Dakota. The Barnes County Sheriff's Office says the driver chose to stay in the cab until his semi could be towed out. A tow service delivered fuel to the stranded driver. He was in touch with sheriff's dispatchers and deputies, and a state trooper checked on him until he was pulled from the ditch. Fargo-Moorhead, mostly cloudy. We expect an overnight low of about 14 below zero, just 0 tomorrow for a high then. Mostly cloudy, maybe a little light snow in the morning. 7 below for New Year's Eve day. New Year's Day, 11 below, mostly sunny, and a sunny Sunday, 6 above for the high. Fargo-Moorhead, it is mostly cloudy, 6 below. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
Man, that's a good song. I hope you enjoyed it. Sometimes it just mellows a person out hearing a little Against the Wind. Here's what's coming up. First off, the whole Madden thing, it's got to be one of the top 3 games ever out there. Now, there's not a whole lot you can change aside from all the extras, which I don't care much about. But there was a time where I bet you many of you listening right now, if you're close to my age, mid-30s, later 30s, whatever, maybe even younger, when you could create a player and put them through the combine and get them on your team, and you bet your bottom dollar that there was a person.
Yeah, and he was rocking your number from high school.
82, and it had Exodus across the top, and he was drafted by the Carolina Panthers at tight end, which is where I should have played, not center.
Not center?
No. Boy, that was a fun summer. And you did it too. Don't lie to yourself.
Oh, there was definitely a 52 with Johnson on the nameplate on some of those games.
What team did you draft yourself as?
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, because you don't have a team.
I don't really have a
those
team.
People.
Yeah.
Are you a bandwagon jumper then? Like, do you pick a team every season and say, hey, you know what? The Browns are doing pretty good. There's a friend I have in West Fargo that he's a Browns fan, at least at the beginning of the season, because he liked Baker Mayfield's commercials.
Oh, well, I also like Baker Mayfield.
I do as well, but, the joke is now that he's got more commercials than he's got touchdowns for the season.
accurate. So no. I just like watching. I pay most attention to the Vikings just because of the job we do and the area we live in. But
I know I got to watch out of the corner of my eye that pit of despair every week also.
But yeah, no, I just enjoy watching good games when you get some of those games that come down to the wire, go into overtime. Just good games.
Eric Johnson just hopes everyone's out there having fun on the field.
I have that T-shirt. I just hope both teams have fun.
You know what's going to be fun? New Year's Eve, a midnight brunch. Dan Hurd is going to tell you how you can get a part of that right after the CBS National News. Stick around.
Robertson here with another Don Agri News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that from It Takes Two? Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning. Paul Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Too tall. Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Why do I like ice fishing so much? I don't know. To me, it's just something I enjoy and just a hobby that I've been into for quite a few years, and I'm not necessarily good at it, but I enjoy it. It's fun. It's good time to get out and hang out with all your buddies and just get away from reality for a little while. First time that I ever went ice fishing, I was like 6 or 7, and I actually fell through the ice. We were in a portable ice house, and I was standing in there, and my dad and my uncle Kevin were moving it, and when they pushed it, I wasn't ready for it, and my leg went down the hole. That was fun. It was cold. You can get into hunting and fishing and stuff like that relatively cheap, and it's just like buying a vehicle. You can spend thousands and thousands of dollars, or you can just go to Walmart and get enough stuff and go out and do it, and you can be just as successful as the people that spend all the money on it. North Bros Outdoors, yeah, me and a buddy of mine, Jacob Enixon, we went to high school together, and we actually had the idea back in high school to make an outdoors page, just hunting and fishing, four-wheeling, anything outdoors basically. A lot of it right now, it's really, really heavily based on ice fishing, and this fall it was heavily based on deer hunting and bow hunting and rifle season too. So yeah, just kind of an outdoors group, and we call ourselves North Bros Outdoors. We've got a Facebook, an Instagram, and a YouTube channel. There's plenty of brands out there that you can get into it. If you're questioning it and you want to do it. You won't regret it. The outdoors it's awesome.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
Because when I come down to the boiler room, it's usually that type of food, that breakfast, and plus the Scotch eggs, which I tell everybody about. Every time that we give away $25 in the gift card from the boiler room, when we do our downtown chicken, you got to do the Scotch eggs. But yeah, looking at these, the 3 courses with cocktail pairings, you can go to the boilerroomfargo.com. And you can hear the terminal of an airport behind Dan.
I am on my way back to Fargo. I'm in Georgia right now. It's a lot warmer here than it is back.
Yeah, boy, let me tell you something. Dan, I got to give you a heads up because when I'm looking at the forecast for, say, Friday, New Year's Eve, yeah, she's going to be cold. So you're going to want to get into the boiler room, warm up over this pairing. They can go to boilerroomfargo.com. Prices appear to be about $45 a person, but you get it all in one convenient location.
You do. You get 3 courses, and you do get cocktails paired with each one of those courses. So
yeah.
It's not just food. We've got the whole package put together for you. It's really an awesome night. It's going to be a ton of fun. We do still have tickets available for all 3 seating times. Those will be available until the end of the day tomorrow, and then we are going to cut it off so that we can start getting our final counts and let the guys in the kitchen get prepared.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a great idea. I mean, it sounds like a lot of fun. It's unique. You know, when we're trying to find experiences, this is something that you're not going to find anywhere else, this midnight brunch at the boiler room in downtown. Again, you can go to boilerroomfargo.com. Dan, is there anything else about this event you want to get out before I let you go catch that plane?
No, that's pretty much it. Check out the website. All the details are there. We would love to see everybody out. Like I said, New Year's Eve was a bit of a bust for restaurants last year, so I know everybody, all of our colleagues downtown are excited to welcome everybody back and just really have the New Year's Eve celebration that everybody deserves.
Yeah, looks like a great time. Dan, I appreciate it. You travel safe, and we'll chat again soon, my man.
Yeah, thanks a lot. You guys have a great night.
Yep, you do the same. Dan Herder, he is the man down at the boiler room. Again, I mean, $45 per person. You get 3 courses of fantastic food. When I'm looking at what they're offering as far as toasted ham and cheese, pastry, honey Dijon, and it goes on from there. Champagne toast. I'm seeing French toast, strawberry champagne. I mean, just go check it out. Again, you can do it at the boilerroomfargo.com. Go pop a bottle down there. Have a great time. Ring in the new year of 2022 at the boiler room downtown. Going to get you that weather update from none other than Chief Meteorologist Too Tall Tom Szymanski. We'll wrap up Afternoons Live for a Wednesday afternoon next.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things.